What's good, everyone? This is Money Mikes of Craftmaster Productions, where we provide context in a world full of content. Today, I wanted to come in and do a continuation to my tutorial on how Pharrell makes R&B in 2022, and basically extend this idea of using melody as a rhythmic tool. And so, if you listen to one of Pharrell's biggest beats ever, Beautiful with Snoop Dogg, what you'll hear is there are basically four instruments. There's your kick, your snare, your bongo, and your guitar. And the guitar, what it's doing is it's playing the rhythm. It's playing the same. It's playing the rhythm along with the drums. And by doing this, by using just four instruments, four or five instruments, Pharrell's able to create such a vibe with very few instruments. And that's actually core to the song. It's ding 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 ding, and that comes from him understanding this principle of using melody as rhythm. And I kind of want to show how I use Ripchord and Scalar to do the same thing, or why I use Ripchord and Scalar to do the same thing. So I don't know if I've ever demonstrated this on the channel, but I can actually play the keys relatively well. I took piano lessons as a kid up to grade 5 level, and so I have a pretty good grasp on how to play the keys. And yet, as someone who knows how to play the keys, I still use Scalar and Ripchord every single day, and it's because it gives me the ability to use melody as a rhythm in the way that I want to. And so we're going to be looking at some of the chords from Brent Faiyaz's Wasteland today and show how in the making of this album they did the same thing. So when these producers went in and they would have had to make their beats after Pharrell made his beat and try and emulate the similar style, this is how they would have done it. So if I show you, today we're working with the chords from Price of Fame 2, which again is in the same pack as the rest of the chords from Wasteland. So it's a two chord progression. I've been working with a lot of songwriters recently, and one of them, my favorite one, Lilo. Her name's Lilo Gold. She's gonna have some great music coming to you very soon. She told me that great songwriters can write a whole song to just two chords, and I think this album's a really strong exemplifier of that fact, because if you look at songs such as this one, there's not many instruments. It's just the guitar and him singing along to the guitar, but he sings a whole song with it. So I'll play you what they did, and I'll show you the MIDI of it as well. And they just repeat that through the entire song. There's no changes, there's no additions, there's no nothing, and it doesn't need to be anything because his voice carries the song. As you know, we tell you on this channel all the time, the real star is the artist. So you're producing around an artist. But if you have an elite artist, this kind of thing will be enough, where you've added enough complexity and vibe just by playing the chords with a rhythm that you don't need to do much more. And so if you really grasp this principle, you'll stop feeling the need to add 17 layers to every single beat. You'll be able to just go off vibe. And that's why I talk about complexity versus vibe and what's actually useful. If you look at the way that this latest Drake album is being received, Her Loss, versus the way that CLB was received, there's a difference in the level of complexity of production, but people like the simply produced album more than they like the super well crafted masterpiece production masterclass. And there's a reason for that. It's effectively this. There's more vibe to it, and I'm gonna be showing how to apply, how they apply this principle when they were making that album in a future tutorial. Another song that is on this Wasteland record is it's called FYTB. And this time I'm showing in Ripchord. I'm showing Ripchord and Scalar just so that people understand that you can use either of the two. Scalar has a few more features, but you know, if you don't want to spring the 30, I think 35 or whatever it is, you can get Ripchord for free and achieve the same effect. So so the chords are A flat minor 9 and B flat minor and a 7. And in both cases, they keep the top note as, I believe it's B flat, which goes back to what I was talking about when I did the Summer Walker tutorials, where you use the top note as your melody. Now, if I play the actual beat, no one comes up with that by clicking in the notes. That's something that you would have played. You know when to make it staccato, when to make it legato. No one goes, I want 5/8 notes that are played. No, 5/8 notes that are played staccato, or even 5/16 notes that are played like eighth notes because you play them staccato, and then one drawn out note, and then clicks that in. You listen to the drums and you play something. And same way, the 808, you know, it's clearly very vibey and it's clearly in line with the thing, but like it's literally what they would have done is and then move the notes around so that they were in key with the chords. They would have found a rhythm and then they would have done it. And again, it goes back to applying melody as a rhythmic tool. And then you come together and you had this like really well cohesively put together groove. Just like the way Pharrell used to make his beats. Now, I wanted to apply the same principle to something original, because over here at C&P Kits, we don't copy other people's beats, we make our own. I made these drums a while ago when SZA did the preview for her song Shirt, which is finally on streaming as of this week. And maybe I'll do a tutorial on how I made these drums when her album drops, because the thing I wanted to achieve was I wanted to put a breakbeat in a trap drum pattern the same way that she did in that song. And it took me a little experimentation, but I figured out how to do it. So I'll play the drums now. So as you hear, you know, it's a typical kind of R&B-ish drum pattern, nothing too complex, but then you get the vibe and the coolness from that breakbeat coming in. And now I used scalar for this one. And the chords I used actually weren't from the Brent Faiyaz pack, they were from the Lucky Day Candy Drip pack. So I used the chords. Once this loads, I used the chords from the Candy Drip pack and the song Eager. So I really like these chords. I'm liking 2 chord patterns these days. So it's an A major 7 and E minor 9, and you have modal interchange in that. And so playing along with this, and I'm going to show you how powerful this is. So 2 fingers. I'm going to start with 1 finger, but I'm going to use 2 fingers and I'll make something cool and complex from this. So off the strength of that, I've already got kind of a cool little pattern. And then I'm going to use my other finger to add just 1 note and use that note to also add some kind of rhythm. And we'll see what we get out of this. So with 2 fingers, I figured out, okay, there's a cool rhythm that we can get from this. And I've used rhythm as a tool and used my chords as a rhythmic tool. I've been able to find something cool. And so if I record that real quick, this time I won't put the fingers up. I was doing that to demonstrate. But if I actually play it properly, if I go in here and quantize those, and the way I thought of that was literally is just I know that the anytime I'm playing chords or anytime I'm playing any song, whatever key it's in, the 1 is always in key and the 5 is always in key. So I just played the chord and I played the 5, and then I just found a rhythm with the 2 fingers. If I open up the editor, if I quantize that, sometimes it helps to use the 8th note quantizer instead of the 16th note quantizers. Perfect. And then kind of from there, I mean, we can add the complexity of trying to move things into key, I guess, or like through keys. So like instead of always playing the 5th note, we can now add some kind of it was an A, right? Yeah, okay, so we've got something cool. And that's literally 2 fingers. And this is the power of using your melody tools. This is the power of using your music theory tools. Now, if I add an 808, if I just record that in. And I can play around with the melody of that a little bit more, but I hope it demonstrates the concept that just off the strength of playing around and actually playing the notes, and how just using these theory tools, you can play more notes more effectively and play more complexity. You'll be able to find things where you get to use your rhythm as your melody as rhythms and your chords as rhythms, and you get to feed into the vibe of the track and create something that you wouldn't be able to create if you were just clicking in the notes. And I hope this has really helped and showed you, again, goes back to how Pharrell produces and that old guard of producers, and it will help elevate you to become that kind of producer, because again, like using these skills, actually playing these things, it does make you a better, more creative producer, and that's what we want for you guys. I'll catch you on the next one.